Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Terry? Dr. Wanda?
Yes. Moving on to approval of accounts payable. Is there a motion to approve accounts payable? Motion by Ross. Is there a second to approve accounts payable? I'll second. Second by Terry. Any discussion?
I have
Okay.
a couple items. What are we called? Delta District number 7? How come there are 2 checks for Delta District number 7? They're small checks.
Whenever some of the clubs are going to like give us money or something, you can pick up to us so that we could take them like if they're counted funds from one group to another, we have them, we have a trail and collect deposited come out of their account fund and they're going to where they want money to.
Well, in this case, wouldn't we be making a check to ourselves?
Yeah. It's just for a trail. It's just for us for passing kind of a paper trail.
I don't know. Sounds good, or I still have a question about it. Don't quite understand how that would work.
See, like when we make the check, you know, like let's say we use the code account fund. It's on here. It says school 001000469. That's like taken out of one of our student funds, and they have to deposit into. They want to put money into another account, like another student fund, then we'll deposit it into the other fund.
I'll accept that. Thank you. Okay, next one. Do we have a bunch of people at the Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch
Yes.
that we have to pay for?
Whenever we go through the tuition agreements, that is one of the items you approve. It's typically when students are placed at a residential facility for educational services.
Okay. Can somebody remind me who Eagle Consulting is?
Who?
Eagle Consulting? 7,500 and 10,000, 2 checks.
That's what I thought. Dr. Ramona Klein.
Okay. And the last one, there is 4 people. Well, when I went through here, there was 4 people that had the same lodging, and I started looking at it, and then after I got all done with the minutes, I noticed that in Shannon McLeod's report, she listed the 4 people that were going to an ASCD 2020 Empowerment Conference, March 13th and 8th in LA, California. And I'm not sure who approved that, but they realized that we're paying $8,767 to get those people there. We were paying 4 people airport parking. We were paying 4 people mileage. How come 4 people that are going to the same conference are using 4 cars? I don't think it's too late to disapprove this conference.
I believe it would be a purchasing agent item that would be as the way the travel vouchers were submitted and on to the superintendent for approval, and then some additional information on that. You also have some travelers, I believe, from the high school, middle school, and elementary school, and from what I understand, the conference has been canceled.
And I can show you from this printout that has been looked at, that those going to the same location for the same training, and that's been pushed back already.
Okay. So this particular one is canceled?
Yes.
Really?
And more than likely, there's going to be some sorting out, possibly some losses. It wasn't anticipated. It's one of the larger educational conferences staff attend each year. However, again, with the issues in Los Angeles with the coronavirus, from what I understand, is the conference itself is canceled.
What does ASCD stand for? Yeah. Anybody know?
Supervision and curriculum development, association with supervision and curriculum development. Mhm.
That's all the trouble I want to make.
Anybody else have any things to add for accounts? Any questions on accounts payable? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Okay, Ross,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Okay, moving on to old business, approval of temporary emergency hire for pre-K wrestling facility. Bruce Moore, Miss Debbie Putnam.
You want me to take this? Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I will take this for Ms. Debbie Putnam. She couldn't be here due to a medical issue. As you know, with the new building needs here, we did hire a full-time security. However, with the position of the placement of the security in the front, there were also some food handler duties that weren't, I guess, fully thought out in the advertisement of that initial security food handler position description. There is a need for some assistance for the preschool special needs and the tiny turtles for breakfast and for lunch. And Debbie Putcher has requested that bring on Bruce Warren until the end of the school year for those duties.
I'll make motion to go with recommendation.
Okay, motion by Kurt, is there a second? I'll second. Second by Terry. Any further discussion on?
Is this gonna turn out into a full-time position?
I think this summer a request to bring to the board for full-time employment for next year, correct?
You need to advertise for that position?
Any other discussion?
How about the salary on the deal?
We figured it out for that to be a blended rate between, or no, this one would be placed at the food handler salary schedule, correctly? Yep, I believe with this one. Yep. So it would be placed at the food handler level.
Any other questions? Terry? Ross?
Yeah, I have one. I guess whenever we were advertising, the security guard was switched to have just for the security guard to have the food handler license or whatever. How come we're switching that now? I guess we knew that this was going to be this way, and I know that last year the security guard did both over the other building.
Because at the other building, the proximity of where the kitchen is and the front door, they're right there. Here you can't do both. And so I guess it just made more sense to have some consistency with that person that was brought on to keep them as full-time security in the front rather than running back and forth. And then the people that are on do have the food handler certification.
And for the last 2 months, we didn't have people like sitting around like a security or bus guards that can help through this position.
I think they have 1 4-hour bus driver that comes in and does assist, but it takes more than one person apparently.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call.
Okay, excuse me. Kurt,
Yes.
LNS,
No.
Ross,
No.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Moving on to new business. First item is information on the BJA Stop School Violence Grant Program FY 2019 Competitive Grant Solicitation. Sheldon Thomas.
So in the packet is the information that Mr. Thomas provided. He had anticipated on attending the meeting, so he can go into more detail. But at this time, this is information only.
Okay, so do you think he will be at the next meeting and then we'll give us time to review it and
We'll reach out to him again. He had confirmed him, perhaps he forgot, so we will definitely touch base with him and ask his attendance at the next meeting.
okay. Moving on to item 2 then, approval of purchase for 2015 Bluebird school bus engine replacement from Harlow's Bus Service. Robert Kaiser, Dwayne Butler.
I guess I could take this in part, and Robert could assist. Anyways, as mentioned, I believe before that we had one of the engines go down in a 2015 Bluebird, had the Cummins diesel engine in it, approximately 70,000 miles. It was determined after a test to be inoperable, and we also conducted some diagnostic checks and were unable to determine the cause actually. The oil was changed in it recently before it became inoperable, so we couldn't do anything off of that diagnostic. So then we got 2 quotes. One of them, well, initially there was the option of getting an engine, putting it in ourselves, or getting a drop-in engine that would be put in by the vendor. And after discussion with Mr. Azure, we had determined, and also some of the transportation committee members, we determined we're better off getting a drop-in engine that's put in by the vendor, and there's some applicable warranty. And we ended up getting 2 quotes, one from Harlow's in Rolette for a replacement Cummins engine, as well as the Cummins place in Minot. The quotes came in at $21,836.45 from Harlow's, $24,864.22 from Cummins in Minot. The recommendation is to purchase the engine along with installation from Harlow's Bus Service in the amount of $21,836.45, and that does go with a 3-year warranty on the main parts and a 1 year for the miscellaneous parts.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Terry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alan S. Any further discussion? Or any discussion? We don't have any, I guess. Any questions or?
Were they comparable in size, the motors?
Same motors.
Exact same motor?
Basically, it's a difference of labor. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same engine. I mean, Cummins rebuilt it, so no matter where you do it, it's the same, but it's less labor and oil.
Did we ever go through this, Harlow before?
Yeah,
Are you-
we deal with Harlow's.
Okay, pretty satisfied with?
Yeah. I mean, as far as buses, they're pretty much the only one in our area.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Ross? Terry? No. Okay. I'll ask for a roll call then.
Okay. Terry?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
LNS?
Yeah.
Kurt?
Yes.
Dr. Wanda?
Yes.
I just, I'm gonna complain if this, the live feed isn't working, I've got a few messages.
Yeah, I was having a problem with the
Okay,
upload,
thanks.
so I'm recording it, then I'll upload it
Oh,
as soon
okay.
as we're done, yeah.
Next item is approval of payment to Office of the State Auditor, $20,000. Earl Emery and Dwayne Butler.
Good afternoon, for President and School Board. In your packet is another progress payment from our auditors in the amount of $20,000. There were other payments made for $20,000 and $17,800. Their recommendation is to approve the billing for $20,000.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
If you hold off paying this, maybe they'll get it done.
Yeah.
It is in draft form at this point.
Oh, that's a little bit of progress.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kurt. Is there a second? Second by Ross. Any discussion?
So again, Dwayne, wait, our yearly audits cost what?
I would estimate right around 30,000.
and this so far is costing us $57,800.
Yes, and there'll probably be another billing after this.
How much will that be?
I don't
Final
know.
billing?
I don't know, but
So, I mean, okay, so once this audit is complete, and
It basically was started by a petition brought to the state, correct?
correct.
How do we, like, let's say there's really nothing to the audit, that we could have just had another regular audit and we spent well over $60,000 on this audit. How do we recoup those funds that we spend out of our children's educations? I mean, we could have easily hired a teacher, we could have did a lot of things with this money.
Correct. There's no way to recoup it. It's just going to be an expense, and the audit, I will say, was very, very extensive. There were 2 field visits. There were invoices, vouchers, ledgers, I believe, being pulled through the end of February. So it was very, very extensive.
Have you read the draft yet?
Parts of it, yes. There are some findings. All of them are findings we could answer.
So could they have been taken care of administratively without the audit?
The findings? I imagine so, I guess. Yes.
They would have without being called.
Yes.
Well, I mean, some of these things I'm sure would have came up in the regular audit, right?
They probably would have, yes.
Will they share with us?
Yes. And they're at a point to where it's still in draft form and it doesn't become a public document. And the goal, of course, and they said they're going to meet it no matter what, is March 31st.
So you have how long to answer those things?
Probably we'll have to have them answered within the week.
So
Maybe
basically
next
We're
week.
not going to have very much time to even get up and to get through it and answer it.
Well, we've already planned to meet you and
Yes.
create a corrective action plan.
Okay, so it'll be released to the board when?
I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. So basically, right up until the 31st, so we get another bill of $20,000. Do you have any comments, Ross? Alan?
Not anymore.
Kurt?
No.
Carrie, any more? Now, if, what happens, is there like a time limit? So let's say somebody requests another audit this fall. Can they do that?
I imagine so.
So then it would cost us another $60,000. You would think there'd be a time limit on, I mean, like as far as maybe one every so many years or something, or?
Does the petition automatically constitute an audit, even would they recommend
They
because
have-
it was recently done?
They have to meet the requirements as far as what is in Century Code.
Now, this petition audit, this was that enforced by the Attorney General, right?
Yeah. Attorney General was involved, the North Dakota Governor, State Auditor's Office.
We do have another audit that still.
Financial.
Yep.
But did this audit cover that, same audit?
It's going to be up to the school board. Again, I believe from the last discussion that was held, a determination would be made after this audit is conducted.
I talked to the attorney, and she said if the board wasn't satisfied with this audit, we could continue with the other audit.
And that's what the,
Yeah.
probably more than that.
We'll see what that.
Okay. With no further discussion, I'll have roll call, please.
Okay. LNS,
Yeah.
Kurt,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item, approval of educational service provider, independent contractor agreement, Cornell Consulting, Mr. Pete Valley.
Again, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I want to kind of encapsulate 4, 5, and 6. These are services that are being, consultants that are being brought in to assist us with the North Dakota Circle Grant. Most of you are familiar with this Circle Grant. It was brought on back in 2018. It took quite a while to get this moving in the right direction. All schools have been coming together. We just finished up a site visit. We had some really good discussions between all the schools with the site visit team, and we have this moving in the right direction. The reason why we're coming forward with consultant agreements between now and the end of the year is because there is some uncertainty as to, we did recently apply for a 5-year grant to extend the literacy endeavors of our K-12 or B through 12 system. And so we'll know, I'll say mid-April, on the intentions of the state to continue to fund this as a 5-year grant. So we're a little leery on how much we want to put ourselves out there as far as any type of long-term advertisement. So with number 4, this is to bring on the independent contractor agreement with Gorno Consulting, which we are consulting with Patty Gorno to lead the grant. So number 4 is to approve as presented.
Motion by Terry. Is there a second? I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Alan S. Any discussion on the questions? Kurt? Alan?
Is all these consultant agreements a requirement of the circle grant, or is that just our idea to help that we can get better, whatever?
It was components of the grant. The grant was originally written, we did an advertisement back in, I'll say July or August of 2018. We had one applicant for the coordinator. That person considered it, but then withdrew at that time. And just full disclosure, I've only been part of this for the last 2 months, so anything that happened over the last year and a half, I can't speak all that well on. But so then for the last since, I'll say, October 2018 until just recently, DPI basically, the literacy committee basically asked DPI if they could serve in that capacity. Well, what the literacy team found that it was just too much for them to take on, and it was just an endeavor that was stumbling. There was a large pool of money, obviously, that was granted to our school, and so without that person who's able to keep this moving, it's just too much on administration and the teachers that were involved in this. So again, the intention was to have a coordinator a year and a half ago. It never amounted to that. So this just seems to be the best fit. We're in very good hands with Patty Gorno, somebody who is been part of this grant writing process, been in our school system. So it's just one of those things where it's just too much for any one of our administrators to take on. And we have a much, over the last 6 weeks, and I know Mr. Lattiser's here, it's just one of those things where it just seems a much smoother process right now.
And I want to answer your question, yes, those are positions written specifically in that grant, and the dollars are set aside specifically for those positions. Because the grant is almost done this year, we applied for 5 years, and then we'll be portion of it next year. This is the way, so the board isn't committed to hiring someone, and then I know the board president is concerned about if we hire someone, then we got to bring them in RIF. This way, it's just a short-term contract. If we don't get to the grant this year or next year, they're done when the money's done. But yes, there are line items in the grant for those salaries for those positions.
Just we'll combine all 3 of these into one motion.
That's fine with me. I'll combine 4. I'll combine 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, and 6 is my motion.
Yeah, I think we
Do
could
they have to be
separate because
separate?
they're listed already and we approved the
Okay.
agenda the way it was. So, any discussion on this, Terry?
No.
Ross? Okay, we'll have a roll call then for this.
Okay. Terry,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yeah.
Alan S.,
Yeah.
Ross,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes, moving on to item 5, approval of consultant agreement with Anna Ross.
Almost.
Okay, motion by Terry,
I'll second.
second by Kurt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Ross,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes, moving on to item 6, approval of consultant agreement with Van Laundry.
Almost.
Motion by Terry, second by Ross. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Kurt,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is permission to hire high school head girls soccer coach, Jane Martin.
I could take this one. Dr. Martin is out today. Is in your packets is a request to hire the high school girls soccer coach. We had one qualified applicant. The recommendation is to approve to hire Alicia Lamont as the high school girls soccer coach.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Ross, second by Terry.
Yep.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Kurt,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of purchasing agent for school year 19-20, adding Danielle Sloan and Dr. Michelle Thomas.
Recommendation is to approve as presented.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Ross,
Second.
second by Terry. Any discussion? Go ahead, Alan.
I'm just curious why the combination of those two?
They were just both recently hired,
Yeah.
and other than that, they were just placed on the agenda at the same time.
Oh.
And they are both purchasing agents, and then we'll also have their very specific lines of authority. Of course, the superintendent's authority in regards to, as a purchasing agent, is the district-wide budget. That of Daniel Sloan is very specific to the Colonel Mountain High School grant special ed area.
That's the part I was wondering about, I guess. Yeah, that they don't have equal powers.
No.
Anything else on? Kurt? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call.
Okay. LNS,
Yeah.
Kurt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of designated federal title programs authorized representative, Dr. Michelle Thomas, by DeWitt.
Okay, again, Mr. Keith LaValle was put in place a couple of months ago as the interim superintendent to serve in the capacity as the federal programs, federal title programs authorized representative. We're at a point where we have a superintendent under contract. The recommendation is to name Dr. Thomas as the federal title programs authorized representative.
Almost. Okay, motion by Terry,
No, second.
second by Alan. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay. Ross,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
LNS,
Yeah.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item, approval of frontline education purchase, $36,470.27, Mr. Keith LaValle.
At this time, I'm going to request that we table this item. We had some further discussion today, and we're going to table it until probably this summer.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to table. Table by Kurt, second by Terry. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Terry,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of tuition agreements, Dwayne Patra.
Okay, we have a total of 6 tuition agreements. One for the Minot Public School, one for Fargo, one for Bismarck, 2 for Grand Forks, and 1 for Chief Gall. The recommendation is to approve as presented, as all students have been determined to be residents of the Belcourt School District.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Terry, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ross, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay. Ross,
Yes.
LNS,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of proposal from CL Linwood for installation of kitchen hoods, Dwayne Patra.
Okay, this is one of the items that we kept out of the contract, the general contract for the construction of this facility with the anticipation that once it was complete, we would go back and do the kitchen hood installation. We did receive the quote from CL Linfoot at the $10,855. The recommendation is to approve as presented.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Terry, is there a second? Second by Kurt. Any discussion? Ross? Terry?
No.
Alan? Kurt?
No.
Yeah, okay, roll call?
Okay. Alan S.,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval to increase employment term of Sheena Asher from 10 to 11 months. Mr. John Madison.
Mr. President, members of the board, in your packet is a job description on performance responsibilities for Sheena. Every year we do call her in to work an additional month. She's the only secretary in the district that does not work 11 months or 12 month recommendation is to approve.
Okay, motion by Terry, second by Ross. Any discussion? Any questions or?
When does this, how long does this go until the middle of the summer? Or?
It's 11-month furlough, so she'll earn furlough, but yes, it's something we do all year long. Her job duties basically are at the end of the school year, clean out all student records, the seniors, pack them up, do what we need to do. Then we start working with other people to get ready for the next school year. It is a tedious job that requires the whole summer.
So like teachers are 10 months, huh?
Correct, 9.
9.
9.
9 months?
Yes.
School year. School year is actually 9 months.
Approximately.
Yeah. So she actually started before school starts.
Oh, we never
until
stop.
after school.
For the office people, it never stop. Once school year wraps up, we have things to do for the outgoing seniors, getting ready for income freshman records that they need to be filed. And it's the way it is.
That is fun.
Not to mention the summer programs going on there also.
And hot lunch, which the majority of phone calls come in is lunch.
Let's afford to some.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Kurt,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Alan S.,
Yeah.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of summer professional growth teaching staff. Dr. Michelle Thomas.
So in your packet is a list of 9 teaching staff. The max is 10, and they have followed process in accordance not only with the negotiated agreement but with policy. So their policy, they've met the required deadline of March 1st, and so the recommendation is to approve summer professional growth for the 9 staff members as presented.
Okay, motion by Terry. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Second by Ellen. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I know like teachers need 8 credits within 5 years.
6.
6 years. What kind
6
of criteria is used for this?
What kind of what?
Criteria, or use the same criteria you use for teachers then, or?
Yeah, it's pretty much they apply through from January 1st is the earliest, and then March 1st, and at that point it goes through to the supervisor, and then it goes on to the superintendent, and then what they'll do then is once they get their classes they enroll into, they'll bring them to the superintendent for approval.
Is there a follow-up on grades?
Yeah. Yep. In order for them to get paid out, they have to have their grades posted by September 1st. They have until December 31st to get payment for that. So grades need to be completed by, and then it's up to 6 credits. And if they get the 6 credits, in this case, the teachers will get 4,000. And if they get less than that, then it's a reduced amount.
How do you go about collecting? Is there only ones that apply?
Actually, when you look at the list, these were the only ones who did apply. So there wasn't any that had to be removed from the list.
kind of wondering, as Chris said, how they fit into that building line. Can they apply every year?
I believe you can. Like I said, if there would have been more, then it does go to an administrative practice where last year, if you were picked last year, then you'd be one of the first that would be removed. So, and then in this case, there was 9 teachers and 10 support staff.
Okay. Thank you.
I have I see 2 doctors, that, all that's help the student system. I mean, I don't know, you could fill in and.
I don't think there's anything in policy that restricts that. So, yeah. Good question.
What's the reason for applying?
It's a good question. So.
Okay. Roll call time.
Okay, Terry,
Yeah.
Kurt,
For, yeah.
LNS, Ross, Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of summer professional growth support staff. Dr. Michelle.
I have to declare, on this one. Oh, did you? Oh. I thought it was, I was looking at the wrong one. I should have declared on the last one. Sorry.
Yeah, I think, why don't we go ahead and acknowledge that? We'll have you down for a comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking at that.
Okay, that's okay, you can do that?
Okay, hang on.
That you get your comment. He meant well.
Yes, you have the right intention.
You knew it was there.
You got it, Heather?
Yeah, okay.
So then I will ask for a motion to approve the summer professional growth. Are we still, we were talking about it? Okay.
So then in your packet is a list of 10 support staff that have applied and accepted some professional growth, and from what I understand, at Institute of Valley, these are the only 10 that did it before the deadline. There was a request after the deadline, but that wasn't all received, and the team was coming already. I'll be calling it for that. So I'm asking for the approval for summer growth, professional growth for an employee that was seen.
Motion by Terry. Is there a second? Second by Ross. Any discussion on the summer professional growth for support staff?
I already asked that.
Alan? Terry? Scott? Okay, roll call.
Okay. LNS,
Yes.
Ross, Terry,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Dr. Wanda.
Yes. Next item is approval of superintendent evaluation, which is due March 15th. Dr. Michelle. Dwayne.
Actually, I was.
I'm not doing well.
Actually, if I can, I was, the board president, Mr. Allen Mallory, discussed this issue with me, and then in compliance with the century code, I believe his recommendation was to give an overall satisfactory to the evaluation. I believe you couldn't really do a due diligence evaluation. You've been on maybe just a week or so.
I believe we all received, I was included in the email, and it stated that we just have to look at our government.
Yep.
Justify all because of my limited time. Very limited.
I would make a motion that we approve, call it satisfactory, for this period of time.
Okay, Alan made a motion. Oh, second. Second by Terry. Is there any discussion? Ross? Terry? No. Alan?
No.
Kurt? So do we have to have the paper form?
The paper form will go into upon completion.
So do we all need to complete it as in paper form and
It'll just,
separate?
no, not necessarily,
just
it'll
be
be just
typed
the one
in.
document,
Okay.
as we have here.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we don't have to have a follow-up meeting with them. Roll call, Tom.
Okay. Ross?
Yes.
Terry? Terry?
Yes.
Kurt? Alan S? And Dr. Wong.
Yes. Next item is to approve purchase of water softener from Dakota. For the Turtlemont High School facility. Yeah.
Yes, the water softeners have had issues for the past couple of years at the high school. And they're also affecting the water heating system due to calcium buildup and corrosion. And in addition to that, there's calcium buildup in the dishwashers and so forth. We're at a point of where BIE Facilities has secured funds to repair the water heaters. However, they did not have immediate funding for the water softeners. The water softeners, I believe, are listed in their backlog, but there is no immediate approval to go forward. So after a couple of years, the recommendation is to go ahead and make the purchase and installation of new water heaters at Dakota Mountain High School using 100-297 ISEC contingency funds.
Oh, second. Motion by Kurt, second by Terry. Any discussion? Ron, please.
Let's put my term on the screen with these softeners and that.
The time frame is as soon as the purchase order goes in place, the order goes out. They're actually estimating 10 to 14 days before the equipment's in, and then from there it's just to make an arrangement with the high school. And what I believe we were hoping for is possibly right around that Easter weekend time, week during spring break. Because at this point we're anticipating them not having school on the Tuesday after Easter.
You're also requesting half down before they order?
Yep. We're very well aware of that. And Colligan has been reputable. The one item that we also mentioned to them was taro. We told them we don't enforce taro, but just to make you aware that typically we ensure that there is some type of a license in place for this type of vendor.
Was this approved by the 100-297?
No, it wasn't. It was actually, the money was placed in the budget itself.
Okay.
There are funds in there, and then it's just approval for the day-to-day operations under this board at this point.
Okay. Okay, Alan, do you have any questions? Kurt?
No.
Okay, roll call.
Okay. Kurt?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Alan S?
Yeah.
Carrie?
Yes.
Dr. Wanda?
Yes. Okay, moving on to reports. First report is our Turtlemont High School Student Council. Tucker, take the floor, please.
And there's the board that you can see on the laptops, it's not in paper form. We have a report that we just have to read the report.
It's gonna be kind of a meeting of the minds, this league of student councils?
Yeah. So we hope it should be pretty good.
Have you settled some little controversies before they start, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly why we did it, because we had a few issues this school year and we're hoping to resolve it. I'm sure that all of the first schools have had their own issues. I would have to do that. So.
Anybody else have any?
You know, sometimes like this senior, banquet where we have seniors are presented with academic and athletic work. We've never, we haven't had scholarship. I've never been invited to anything like this. since I've been on board. Last superintendent. Well, when Dr. DeFont was here, we got invited to things like that constantly, we always made sure we were invited to go out and get invited to anything like this and things.
It's been a while.
Been a while, yeah, so I wonder if we get back on track and become a team and a family again.
This year is actually our first year for that season banquet. So that was the new plan because our award stay is only 4 hours long. So that would stop into a 2 hour supper.
So you actually have two events, huh? Would be the actual awards day and this,
Our awards day won't happen this year. The awards for the young class will be in their homeroom.
Right, they'll be in there. In the past, we've had awards day, and it's like 4 or 5 hours till after 1 o'clock, and kids are expected to sit there. And a lot of, especially scholarships, it isn't a lot of meaning to them, so kids are getting awards. It just seems to be a day that is better served, and we've talked to student council with them, and a senior banquet with their scholarships, their parents there, and a meal and those kind of things would be more meaningful than anything, but invite the board. And then as for the rest of the awards, they'll be done in their classrooms on an award day, so it's more meaningful. It's not taking these kids to sit 5 hours in the gymnasium. So
Parents can be invited?
yes.
words are out of my mouth.
It's I always put in my board report every year. It's usually the first or second, and it's in this board report. If you look at mine, I think it's May 11th. It's on a Thursday. So you guys can secure it.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you, Tucker. Okay, the next report would be the superintendent, Dr. Michelle Thomas. Thank you.
It's been 5 days, but it's been 5 very busy days. I began employment on Wednesday, March 4th, and the first 2 days was just soaking in as much information as I can. I understand the processes. It's going to take some time, but having the right people with the information they've provided me, I feel really good about where we're headed. On Friday, it was my goal to attend each respective school, and I sat in on some sessions. At the elementary, I specifically sat in on the PLC, which is Professional Learning Community, where they are prioritizing standards in respect of each grade. At the high school, they were doing group credit review and discussing plans of study, which I thought was awesome because especially for the freshmen and sophomores, they can see their college, or their high school career, hoping to make that deadline of their senior year in preparation for college beyond that. I entered the Turtle Mountain Middle School in the middle of the SIP meeting and then took it back, but they were also working on safety that afternoon. We also met with Amanda Peterson from DPI in regards to the Describing Readers Comprehensive Literacy Program. I felt it was a really good conversation between Mr. Laval and Mr. Petra, myself and Amanda, and we are moving forward to utilize that money within that circle budget the way it was intended. We have a lot of work to do, as Mr. Lattiser pointed out, and thank you for approving those consultant agreements to make that happen. I believe it's in good hands. Lastly, we're getting ready. We're preparing. We want to be aware of the issues that are going on regarding coronavirus, and I know panic has started to set in. We're not trying to create that, but we also recognize that within our EPP plan, the epidemic piece of it is not specifically addressing should we have an incident within the school. So I should have added a little more with that. I can back up to Mr. Petra and I attending an IHS, a meeting agency-wide with BIA, IHS, so, all of the department heads. Mr. Lattiser received information as well. And then just discussing how we come together as a community, especially with the education institutions, and that discussion started with Mr. Chairman Azure. So Chairman Azure, tomorrow at 9 a.m., Thursday at 9 a.m., we are meeting in this room, the education institutions, because we need to really detail our academic plan. just in preparation, you know, you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst as well. And so just ensure those parents who are concerned regarding this that we are moving on it and trying to take those precautions to keep our kids safe. And if there are any questions beyond that.
Any questions for Dr. Liner?
You addressed everything I was gonna ask.
Good. Okay, moving on to, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Moving on to Dwayne Cutler, Business Manager.
Okay, I have the, a written report in there. It's pretty basic. However, the majority of the items we had already covered. There's the financial report in there, and the other item was to notify the board that the audit is complete in its draft form, and I believe we already went over the timelines. Other than that, as Dr. Thomas mentioned, we did meet with the DPI representatives, and we received approval within the last month for the North Dakota Scribing Readers Comprehensive Literacy Grant, as well as the federal title programs consolidated application. In addition to that, we did receive correspondence from Taro in regards to contracts being awarded to individuals and businesses without these entities having a license, or mention of Taro fees. Again, our legal counsel has previously advised to the district that we recognize Taro as it is applicable to the district, but we do not adopt it or enforce it for vendors. We make them aware, and that's to the extent we go. Other than that, I have the monthly financial report in there. We are coming to the close of another year. We're staying within budget, I believe, at this point, and we'll have a good indication in the month of June. That is all I have to report.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Dwayne? Go ahead, Rob.
Hi, Dwayne, when we were talking about the Taro license and about not enforcing it, could we put something in place that we can, if anybody conducts business on the reservation, we enforce it?
We're advised, we were advised not to do that simply because we're a political subdivision of the state, and it would be up to Taro to enforce that upon the vendors themselves. There's always been this disconnect that we have with that. You know, again, for example, we're doing business with, let's say, Hewlett-Packard. It becomes a very, very much a challenge to get them to acquire a tribal business license. Whereas we go back to, as we mentioned, Culligan or Harlow's or even Cummins. Those types of vendors are very, very willing to work with us when they're notified.
So whenever we decide who we're gonna purchase through, say, since we didn't have a problem purchasing a Taro license and the other one argued it was a little bit cheaper, I mean, would we want to give the business to our Taro one? I mean, that's what I'm kind of getting at, is if we're picking and choosing, like, what is the way we could enforce it, or points or something? Yeah.
I'm sure we can. That's something we could further look into again, because that's a different way of looking at it in terms of points and determining which vendors purchase from.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
On your financial report, I noticed that most accounts are like half paid or half whatever.
Yes.
Half drawn down, except for the Title IV one. Do we have plans to get that one down to similar rates, or?
I believe
we've only spent out of the $777,000, we've only spent $36,000, I think.
I believe we have a newly named federal title programs authorized representative. I would probably want to respond to that.
Yes, we will.
And we are spending, and one of the major areas, of course, we were actually supposed to be spending out of there was with a school resource officer. And again, this has been an ongoing for the last year and a half, and we re-advertised that. And I realize that's not the entire budget. However, the allocation is right around, I believe this past year, $440,000, prior year, $420,000, We carried over last year 360,000. And where we're very fortunate with this federal title program is that they do not have a ceiling on the carryover, but I imagine they're going to be establishing one. So as we go forth with this, as I've mentioned to Dr. Thomas, we have to look at it look at this budget area in many one-time purchases. Because let's say we go into next year, we're carrying over $600,000. That's going to be soft money. Once it's spent out, it's not going to be sustainable. What is sustainable is the $440,000.
I guess overall, we spent half, or half, total budget, right?
Yep.
And I just noticed that particular item was just barely spent. That's all I had.
Kurt? Kurt? Okay, thank you, Dwayne. Moving on to the Turtle Mountain Community High School principal, Mr. Melvin John Ladison.
Members of the board, and in fact, there are two items that I put in there. One is a timeline for the rest of the school year, just some dates to remember. Hard to believe that we're already planning next August. School year seems to go by fast and faster. The other item, of course, is an audit that we were selected by the state to, just to make sure that our reporting is done accurately, and you'll see that. The other thing that I have to report is that us two, we have our janitors, we're buying Clorox, 5 cases. The janitors are wiping banisters, there's mops on floors every day. We had school deep scrub 2 weeks ago on the weekend. So we'll continue to in that behavior for the rest of the school year.
Okay, anybody have any questions for John?
I do have one point to make. I believe Mr. Lattiser could report on. There's a request for this summer, I believe, from the line officer. It hasn't made its way into writing, but it will have an effect throughout the school. I believe there's a request for 3 weeks of professional development training from the BIE education line officer.
I'm working with him on vertical and horizontal alignment. He will be here tomorrow, I was told. Hopefully we'll get together, and we're going to utilize a lot of that. We will do that Title IV, all around the education portion. So.
And that was the point I wanted to make when you mentioned Title IV. I remember Mr. Lattiser asking if those funds were available. I wasn't sure, but nonetheless, if you're going to bring in, we have in excess of 100 teachers school-wide, and if they're brought in for a full 3 weeks, 40 hours apiece, then according to our negotiated agreement, we came up with, we have 3 professional development days specifically in there, but they're paid at $40 per hour plus benefits. So the same would be applicable for these 3 weeks. So it would be a busy month of June, I imagine.
Moving on, board reports. Ross, go ahead with yours.
I don't know, some reports, but I do have, I guess, some I want to talk about to get some feedback. The first thing is our driver's ed program. I brought it up when I first got on board, but is there anywhere that it's mandatory we have it as a course?
No, it's not mandated. We offer it as part of convenience, but again, the teacher retired. The equipment was outdated. The cost to update those simulators are approximately $100,000 piece, I believe, right?
Yeah, I've got Ms. Lower offer, and I think they were turning on some thousand. You sent me a report to get all the simulators, and that's $300,000 with the teacher.
And it depends what you're buying too. And those simulators he's talking about, you find like a steering wheel that sits on the table and a monitor in front of you. So it's not the simulators that we use with the brakes and the mirrors and everything. So those are roughly $100,000 piece.
Okay, well, the next thing is we do a lot of subcontracting. I heard there was somebody in Rugby that does it for St. John. We can get our kids in that. So I know it's kind of a nuisance for parents to have to pay to bring their kids out of town and some won't have rides to get our kids their permit. If you can look at that avenue.
Again, we can look at any avenue, I mean, are you talking like, the school pays for the transportation to them, for the classes and behind the wheel?
Well, I think that they said there was, there are a couple of the people already did some self-contract for 2 weeks, is it?
Just for behind the wheel, I think Buddy offers class, or it's an online class, that the students take, and then it's just for the 10 hours behind the wheel, and then the students are like, do you remember what you did? You guys ever did in high school? How many hours did you have behind the wheel?
I did 3, 6, 6.
Yep, 6 hours, so that's what they're contracted for. I think St. John still has they have the coursework to get the permit, and then they take them in to get the permit, but the behind the wheel part, that's what you're talking about, they contract.
Yeah, I just think they have to look at some avenues maybe for the next year or so for these kids, so.
I can look into it.
Thank you, and, the next part of it, I was gonna welcome Dr. Langen to the first monthly meeting, and, I guess when I got on board, it's something I felt too, is that, we are all accountable for positions, and when we went to our school board training, I met with a lot of Class A schools, and in their schools, their superintendent does all the hiring, firing, and I think we have somebody new in place. I think we should look at maybe going this avenue, where the superintendent would oversee the principals evaluate their teachers, the athletic director evaluate their coaches, so everything's not brought to the board. I think we should just new times and get out the old culture of having the board make all the decisions. I don't know, I just want to get some feedback and thoughts from other board members.
No?
Well, I mean, it's something I'd like to bring up. I mean, I'd actually like to, at some point, move forward with this, and if we have to vote on it, to do this with the powers, I would.
I think this should be discussed at a meeting, or, you know.
So do I.
Because there's a lot of things, you know, that we could talk about for hours, you know, about this, or get into detail.
Discourse, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he want to do?
Basically what I want is just that we have these people in these high paid positions that, you know, we evaluate the superintendent evaluate the principals evaluate their teachers, is that everything's coming to the board, and it shouldn't be. Other schools don't do it. We're like 1 or 2% of the population in North Dakota that do it. And I just think that we should be, I guess, in the same playing field as everybody else, every other school, that we should put our people in these high paying positions, hold them accountable. But I'm only one person. It's just something I want to bring up and see if we can, if we have to put on a meeting in the future, that's something I would like to move forward with.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Anything else? Okay. Terry, do you have anything?
No, I don't. I just, well, actually, congratulations, Michelle. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to see you here.
Nice to be here.
I look forward to working with you.
Likewise. Alan?
That's all I have.
I don't have anything additional.
Kurt?
No, I had the same thing that they said too, welcome aboard and looking forward to working with you for the next year. And,
Thank you.
I was gonna ask about, see what, if you had a plan in place for this virus, you know, and you addressed that already.
Good. We're looking for some uniformity with all the schools, so we'll have that plan, including higher education.
Thank you.
And same for me, ditto.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome to Belford School District Number 7, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Moving on, the reports that have been submitted are Athletic Activities Director's report, Philmont Community Middle School Assistant Principal report, Philmont Community Elementary School Assistant Principal report, and Ojibwayan School Assistant Principal Angelique Bennett. Did you want to report on anything, or? Yeah, it's in there. Okay. Other than that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Terry makes the motion to adjourn. There's a second by Kurt. Any discussion on adjourning? Hearing none, roll call.
Kurt. Alan S.
Yeah. Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Ross. Dr. Wanda.
Yes. And thank you everybody for coming.